Chapter 1406, Self-Love Refined. The upper extreme heavenly eagle actually escaped. How could this happen? In heavenly court, Fairy Ziwei used star constellation chessboard to observe White Heaven's situation. She frowned as a bright light flashed in her eyes. Luck path. A guess appeared in her mind. She thought of 88 True Yang building. The culprit that destroyed it was Feng Yuan. What was the possibility that Feng Yuan obtained Giant Sun's true inheritance? Unfortunately, my investigative killer move can only locate Feng Yuan and the others. It cannot show their current situation. Fairy Ziwei sighed and used star constellation chessboard again. The next moment, the scene of the River of Time appeared in star constellation chessboard again. Feng Jiugu and Lord Huangshi had already flown to a nearby tributary of the River of Time. This tributary of the River of Time is not small. It is enough for you to leave. Lord Huangshi smiled, pointing forward. Let me use my immortal killer move to send you out. Don't resist. Feng Jiugu nodded, cupping his fists gracefully. I will trouble you. Lord Huangshi was about to speak when his expression changed. That tiger year beast is coming again? Feng Jiugu's expression also changed. No. Lord Huangshi's eyes looked ahead. In the river in front of them, there was a dense fog that emerged. Strange. Why is there fog in the River of Time? Feng Jiugu frowned. Lord Huangshi was extremely excited. There was huge expectation in his eyes. This fog, don't tell me. At this moment, the two saw a faint silhouette in the fog. The figure was vague and concealed by the fog. It could not be seen clearly. Lord Huangshi's expression became even more heated. But Feng Jiugu was completely confused. Soon, the fog moved and exposed a corner of the huge silhouette. Feng Jiugu finally saw what it was. This looks like an island. That's right, this is a stone lotus island. Legend says that Red Lotus true inheritance is inside. Lord Huangshi's tone was trembling. Even though Red Lotus Demon Venerable and Heavenly Court were enemies, he was the absolute peak of time path. Nobody could match him. Lord Huangshi, who specialized in time path, felt an unparalleled allure towards Red Lotus true inheritance. Stay here. I will return shortly. Lord Huangshi said that before flying out at a rapid speed. However, the fog seemed to respond. When Lord Huangshi got closer, the fog retreated. After a long time, Lord Huangshi did not manage to shorten the distance. It was lengthening instead. That a moment later, the fog vanished, and the mysterious stone island went missing too. Lord Huangshi returned dejectedly. His expression was quite ugly. Even Fairy Ziwei, who was watching this in Heavenly Court, had a look of disappointment. But soon, she frowned. She fell into deep thoughts. Why did that stone lotus island appear? Was it because Feng Yuan destroyed a tributary of the River of Time? But Lord Huangshi and Feng Jiugu had already left that place already. And most importantly, how can someone enter the stone lotus island? Must they have the key, spring-autumn cicada? Southern border, Wu clan headquarters. That a super goo formation was created. Wu Yong stood in front of the goo formation. Observing it, he nodded, showing a satisfied expression. Beside him, a Wu clan supreme elder said, Elder Wu Bei, we have troubled you. It is my job to work for the clan. This was no trouble at all. Elder Wu Bei said respectfully and humbly. Among Wu clan's Gu immortals, he cultivated formation path. Not long ago, he even took over Feng Yuan's position to defend the Super Gu formation. After the Battle of Reverse Flow River, Feng Yuan returned from Northern Plains and plotted to get Wu Bei away from here so that he could return to the Super Gu formation. Elder Wu Bei actually managed to escape from danger because of this, and did not join in the Battle of the Dream Realm. In this battle, Southern Border's Righteous Path Gu immortals suffered huge losses. Even the immortal Gu used to create the Super Gu formation were taken by Heavenly Court. However, not long ago, even though Wu Yong failed to kill Feng Yuan, he managed to make a secret agreement with Heavenly Court that Wu Yong let go of Feng Jiugu. And Heavenly Court returned the taken immortal Gu back to Wu Yong. Wu Yong returned to Southern Border's Righteous Path and returned all the immortal Gu back to their owners. This act raised his reputation to the peak in Southern Border's Righteous Path. Southern Border's clans were all grateful to Wu Yong. Not only could he negotiate with Heavenly Court and succeed, he even returned every immortal Gu without taking any for himself. They were all in admiration. Furthermore, Wu Yong exposed his rank 8 immortal goo house, clear jade, dripping wind, tiny bamboo building. And after he showed his tremendous battle strength in the Battle of the Purple Blood River Formation, all of the southern border super forces were apprehensive against him. Thus, even though he did not kill Shadow Sect's remaining members, Wu Clan's status had changed drastically. The clans that took over Wu Clan's resource points earlier retreated back to their own territories and even offered some compensation in a roundabout manner. Xiao Clan was Wu Clan's affiliate force. Their territory, which was taken by Ba Clan and Xia Clan, was also returned on the basis of Wu Clan's reputation that Wu Yong was not happy with such a result. After returning, he had been controlling the situation, negotiating with the super forces, getting them to hand over more benefits. Currently, both sides were still negotiating. Even though Wu Clan was very forceful, the other super clans were not made of paper. They were adamant in defending their own interests that Wu Clan's losses were indeed severe. All in all, they lost multiple Gu immortals, and Fang Yuan even cheated them of 6 immortal Gu and 100,000 immortal essence stones. But this matter could only be withheld by Wu Clan. They could not openly seek Fang Yuan for trouble, that Wu Yong wanted to compensate his losses from the other super forces. But he was not going to forget the demonic path scoundrel Fang Yuan. The Super Gu formation here was made based on Wu Yong's instructions. Not only did he put Elder Wu Bei in charge of everything, he even asked Qi Clan's Gu immortals for help. All right, you can act now. A sharp light flashed in Wu Yong's eyes. He spoke to Wu Bei in a calm tone. That Wu Bei's heart shook as he felt the anger and hatred underneath Wu Yong's calm expression. To think that Wu Yihai was an imposter all along. He was too daring. He actually deceived Wu Clan. We will show you now. There are some people in this world that you cannot offend. Wu Bei snorted coldly as he used his Gu formation. This immortal formation used an earth vein as the foundation, and Fang Yuan's life tablet Gu and soul lantern Gu, as well as more than 10 immortal Gu and an uncountable number of mortal Gu to create. Its effect was to find trouble with Fang Yuan. Every time it was activated, it would create a formless force that would cross southern border and be inflicted on Fang Yuan. This immortal formation was very powerful. It far surpassed the killer move that Wu Yong used against Fang Yuan earlier, at the same time. It was lasting. This was the advantage of a Gu formation. Once the Gu formation was created, the activation and deactivation process was very easily. It was not like a killer move. Every use would have a complex process and every step would need to be accurate. Otherwise, the activation would fail and there might be a backlash on the user. GU formations were different. After they were created, unless they were destroyed, there would be no threat of backlash. Let's try half of the power. Wu Yong added. Wu Bei nodded. Wu Yong was not doing this because he was magnanimous. It was so that he could conveniently negotiate with Fang Yuan. Don't forget that Wu Clan's immortal Gu were still in Fang Yuan's hands. Wu Yong naturally wanted them back. Even if Fang Yuan ran to Western Desert, Wu Yong did not give up on that idea. Fang Yuan's reverse flow protection seal is powerful and can deflect all attacks, but too bad. This move uses too much mental energy, and the immortal essence expenditure is high. How can Fang Yuan keep it active at all times? With this Gu formation, we can attack any time we want, and stop it at any moment. We hold the initiative. Let him suffer first before we negotiate. Wu Yong was already preparing his tactics. The Gu formation activated, and was about to unleash its power when suddenly, the ground started to shake. Rumble. The entirety of Wui Mountain was shaking. What is going on? Why is there an earthquake? Which Gu immortal is undergoing tribulation? This is not a tribulation. The earth vein is shaking. The entirety of southern border is implicated. This is far more severe than just an earthquake. Oh no, Elder Wu Bei. The surrounding Wu Clan Gu immortals gasped as they realized something. Boom. The immortal formation exploded as Wu Bei coughed out blood. After an anguished scream, he fell to the ground, unconscious. Northern Plains, Langya blessed land. Sixth hair was covered in sweat. He was completely drenched. His hair was stuck together. It was a sad sight. The final step. Sixth hair's eyes were red, filled with blood. Langya land spirit heard this and handed the processed immortal material over to Sixth hair. Even though he was the first supreme elder, since Fang Yuan made the request, and the rules were set by Langya Land Spirit himself. He had to follow it. Thus, he did not mind helping Sixth Hair. He at most had some grievances against Fang Yuan. Ding! A long crisp sound came from the ice fire, like the sound of clashing silver coins. Soon, the sound stopped as the blazing ice fire extinguished. Only the round, profound ice was left. Sixth Hair breathed roughly as he muttered, "Come out. Rank 7 Immortal Goo Self-Love." Crack, crack. Cracks appeared on the profound ice before it broke apart, as an immortal goo flew out. Rank 7 Immortal Goo Self-Love was finally refined. Chapter 1407, Leaving Wu Clan Completely. Rank 7 Immortal Goo Self-Love. Fang Yuan held this immortal goo. He felt joy in his heart that it was not a waste that he expended all of his soul foundation. He obtained some useful results. Luck Path, after all, had helped the goo immortal to reach rank 9. I have dogshit luck immortal goo, and have connected my luck to Yi Fan, Hong Yi, and Han Li, these 3 lucky people. Furthermore, after the 2 uses of burning soul bursting luck, my luck must have reached an unprecedentedly high level. It is not strange that self-love immortal goo was successfully refined. This self-love immortal goo was refined by Sixth Hair and sent to Fang Yuan using Treasure Yellow Heaven. Treasure Yellow Heaven had a small commotion, but it was not as impactful as before, because situations of using Treasure Yellow Heaven to transport immortal goo had happened many times already. It was no longer as rare. Especially recently, Wu Yong used Treasure Yellow Heaven to send a batch of goo worms, and Thousand Transformations Ancestor also sold Year Beasts and created an even bigger commotion that was still ongoing. This is self-love immortal goo? Bai Ningbing asked. Before Fang Yuan replied, Ing Wu Xie said, "Of course. This immortal goo came at a perfect timing. With this immortal goo, we can use immortal killer move self-cleansing. We will not be afraid of any investigative killer move." Ha ha ha, Ing Wu Xie said as he laughed loudly with his hands at his waist. He was currently using Fairy Chui Bo's body. His chest was huge, and he had a beautiful face, but he laughed with his mouth wide open like a foolish hot-blooded teenager. It was quite amusing. Bai Ningbing shook her head as she watched. The lingering bit of pity she felt towards Ing Wu Xie vanished without a trace. That's right. This immortal goo, self-love, is the core of immortal killer move self-cleansing. This move can cleanse down marks on the goo immortal's body, getting rid of the unfavorable ones and only keeping the beneficial ones. Be it the investigative killer move or alliance agreements. As long as they are harmful to us, they can be cleansed. Fang Yuan explained. Hei Lulan's eyes shined brightly, she thought. This means that the killer move formed from this immortal goo can break the restraints of Shadow Sect's alliance agreement on me. She saw some hope. She did not join Shadow Sect willingly. She wanted to leave, but there was no way. Self-love immortal goo had a unique shape. It was not like a worm, but a horn-shaped rice dumpling. There was a layer of bamboo leaves around it, and there were even gray-white threads on it. Sup, 1/sup. But this was not true that if one observed carefully, they would see that the surface of the bamboo leaves was completely one with the inside. The gray-white threads were the markings of self-love immortal goo. They flickered and changed locations every few breaths of time. Hei Lulan memorized the appearance of self-love immortal goo deeply in her mind. Fang Yuan touched the surface of self-love immortal goo as he said, "Let's move first before using this self-love immortal goo to get rid of the investigative killer move." The immortals chose a direction randomly and moved for 100,000 li, arriving at the back of a huge sand dune. Fang Yuan started to use his killer move, while Ing Wu Xie and Gang went around the place to guard him. First, he activated self-love immortal goo. This rank 7 immortal goo was inside the sovereign immortal aperture, floating in the air and emitting a sweet smell without any lights shining. Allured by the scent, large numbers of mortal goo were activated, moving around self-love immortal goo as they formed into a river of goo worms. This was the first step of using self-cleansing. Evidently, self-love immortal goo was needed to make the first step. Fang Yuan was stuck here previously, undoubtedly. Even with a vast number of immortal killer moves, they were useless without the core immortal goo. Next, Fang Yuan started to use some crucial supplementary goo worms. These goo worms were all immortal goo. Wisdom Path Immortal Goo obtained from Purple Mountain True Monarchs. Inheritance. Most of them were rank 7. This Immortal Killer move's difficulty was that the addition of every Wisdom Path Immortal Goo would cause a disturbance to the original Goo Worm River. Only skilled technique and extraordinary control could allow this step to be done. A Wisdom Path rank 6 Immortal Goo was carefully placed in. The river of Goo worms shook intensely, but it returned to normal soon. Fang Yuan's heart sank. This was just a rank 6 Immortal Goo, but was so difficult already. If he placed a rank 7 Immortal Goo, the result would be worse. But the second Immortal Goo was a rank 7 Immortal Goo. Fang Yuan waited for a while. After savoring that precious experience from earlier, he placed the second Immortal Goo in, progressing slowly like this. When he got to the third Immortal Goo, Fang Yuan failed. The entire Goo Worm River broke apart, as Fang Yuan spat out blood from his mouth. Man, as before, once this Immortal Goo was used, his injuries were healed, but the killer moves. Activation failed. They had to leave now. Fang Yuan and the rest packed their things and left the place. They could not remain at one place for too long. They needed to keep moving so that Heavenly Court and Heaven's Will could not deal with them easily. Along the way, Fang Yuan thought about and collated his experiences. One could say that the entire group was relying on his killer move. This was the key to solving their problem. Even though this killer move had no offensive power, after the activation failed, they would leave. Along the way, he would learn from his mistakes. Until the fourth time, Fang Yuan finally succeeded in activating rank 7 Immortal Killer move Self-Cleansing. It was not easy. A watery and gentle light flowed down from Fang Yuan's head into his body and mind. Initially, the water was shiny and crystal clear, but when it got to Fang Yuan's feet, it became extremely murky. How was it? After the killer move was used, Xia asked. The other immortals looked over with concern. Fang Yuan used perceivable Dao Immortal Goo to inspect himself, but the result was not satisfactory. We have a problem. His expression turned grim. Southern border. The Super Goo formation was dealt with. Supreme Elder Wu Bei, who had fainted, was also treated. Wu Yong looked at the huge pit with a dark expression. Why did the earth vein shake here all of a sudden? This Super Goo formation used the earth vein as the foundation, and it had a once in 10,000 years tremor. To think it would happen at this moment. Thankfully, I salvaged Fang Yuan's Life Tablet Goo and Soul Lantern Goo at the crucial moment, but we lost a rank 6 Immortal Goo in the process. Wu Yong had a deep gaze. After this matter, his hatred towards Fang Yuan intensified. Lord Wu Yong, something is wrong. At this moment, Wu Fa reported. Not only was there a tremor here, Tai clan, Yi clan, Chai clan, Chi clan, and the rest have all faced an earthquake. Wu Yong's eyebrows rose. You mean this earth vein tremor involved the whole of southern border? That is likely the case. Wu Fa frowned deeply. The earth vein was very important. An earthquake of such magnitude was unprecedented in southern border. This change was truly not normal. Wu Yong turned his gaze towards his hand. The two mortal goo he was holding cracked and broke apart. They were completely destroyed. Wu Yong was shocked. Fang Yuan's Life Tablet Goo and Soul Lantern Goo were destroyed? Did he use some method against it? Chapter 1408. Inextinguishable Star Target. On this day, in southern border, regardless of mortal or immortal, they went into panic and shock. The earth vein was shaking, affecting the entirety of southern border. Important areas were devastated. Mountains collapsed as rivers were blocked. Pits were buried. The power of heaven and earth was displayed openly with unparalleled might at this moment. Countless unfortunate mortals died in this vast calamity. The super forces were all collating their losses. Many mortal forces were exterminated. Even for super forces, they lost quite a few resource points. They had suffered great setbacks. This sudden earth vein earthquake made the tense southern border political situation go silent. The super forces placed their conflicts aside as they started to investigate the cause of the earth vein commotion together. Such an earthquake had not happened in the last 10,000 or 100,000 years, or even during the olden antiquity era or remote antiquity era. Throughout history, this was the first time. Southern borders grew a mortal world, be it righteous path, demonic path, or lone immortals. They were all nervous and curious about the cause of this huge commotion in the earth vein. The indication of the Great Era has appeared. Feng Yuan, who was far away in Western Desert, collected information about the commotion in southern border as he sighed deeply at this moment. He had moved away again to another location. When night faded away, lights started to shine from the horizon. It was dawn. Soon, the sun rose up and restored the world to a bright state, shining down on the vast desert. It was a new day. Feng Yuan wore his white robe. He had a deep gaze as he looked at the rising sun with a deep mood. Compared to the rising sun, his future was not this smooth and hopeful in the past. He was kept in the dark, but after getting Purple Mountain True Monarch's inheritance, he learned of the relationship between the Great Era and Spectral Soul, as well as Shadow Sect. The Great Era originally should have approached at this time, but in the 500 years of his previous life, Spectral Soul succeeded in defying fate. He resisted Heavenly Court and Heaven's will, using his supreme methods to forcefully stall the Great Era by 500 years. Heaven's will was forced into desperation by Spectral Soul. It had to take a big risk and use Feng Yuan as a tool to send him back to the past, using Spring-Autumn Cicada and attempting to thwart Shadow Sect's plans. Thus, the entire world went back to its original path. Without Shadow Sect and Spectral Soul, the Great Era started to unveil itself. The tremor of the Earth vein was the signal for the start of this Great Era. The Great Era is coming. The 5 regional walls are going to vanish. But before that, the Earth veins of the 5 regions, Southern Border, Northern Plains, Central Continent, Western Desert, Eastern Sea, they will unify and combine into one. For the following period, Earth vein tremors will continue to happen. Not just in Southern Border, the other 4 regions will also face it. The reason why Southern Border was the first to have these Earth vein tremors is because Southern Border has the most Earth path down marks in all 5 regions. Therefore, Southern Border's Earth vein is also the deepest among the 5 regions. Precisely so, when the Great Era descends and the world changes, it will be the first one affected. Feng Yuan had a pondering gaze. The Great Era descended like this. It greatly interrupted his former cultivation plan. In his original plan, he had a lot of time. Feng Yuan would continue to cultivate and use the dream realm to raise his attainment levels and accumulate wealth, while rising up in cultivation level. When the 5 regions chaotic war starts during the Great Era, he would have rank 8 cultivation level and deep foundations in wealth. Even if he did not reach Great Grandmaster in every path, he would be close. That way, he would gain the most benefits during the 5 regions chaotic war. But that was not possible now. The Great Era was coming too quickly. Feng Yuan's plans were completely disrupted. Not just that, he was currently chased by Heavenly Court and was plotted against by Heavens will. He had to run every minute and stay alert. A strong enemy might appear at any time to kill him. This is a huge change. Currently, only I, Heavenly Court, Shadow Sect, and a few other forces know the truth behind the Earth vein tremors. However, the other Gu immortals are not stupid. After some investigation, they will realize this sooner or later. After a while, this will turn into a consensus, and every Gu immortal would understand. An unprecedented change is occurring in the world. My rebirth advantage is going to dwindle again. If not for the Dream Realm battle, I would still have my identity as Wu Yi. Southern Border's Earth vein tremors will cause large amounts of earth trenches, pits, and countless rare beasts and plants to appear. This is a great harvest. All forces and Gu immortals will compete for them. Such things will occur often in the 5 regions, but Southern Border will be the most affected because Southern Border's Earth vein has the biggest foundation. It has the most valuable treasures. The worst is Eastern Sea, because these are Earth vein tremors. Eastern Sea would have the least number of fortuitous encounters from them. Feng Yuan recalled. Eastern Sea has always had the most resources among the 5 regions. Because of this, Gu immortals from the other regions took risks to go there and explore it, trying to find ways to advance their cultivation. But Eastern Sea had the least gains from the Earth vein tremors. There was a theory in the 500 years of Feng Yuan's previous life. This fortuitous encounter of countless treasures was like the gift of heaven and earth, to purposely balance the 5 regions. That if Feng Yuan was still using Wu Yi's identity now, he would be able to gain great benefits. With his memories, he remembered many places where precious resources emerged, and even wild immortal goo. Unfortunately, because his identity was exposed, these great fortuitous encounters were no longer available to him. Fang Yuan felt that it was a pity, but he did not know that this earth vein tremor helped him instead. Because of the earth vein tremor, Wu Clan's immortal formation was destroyed. Wu Yong's plan failed and Fang Yuan dodged a crisis. He did not fall to Wu Clan's scheme. The earth vein tremors were bound to happen eventually, but it had to happen at that precise moment. That was because of Fang Yuan's burning soul-bursting luck. Thankfully, I obtained rank 7 Immortal Goo Self-Love. After using Immortal Killer Move Self-Cleansing successfully, I got rid of all the detrimental Dao marks on me, including Wu Clan's alliance agreement. This way, Fang Yuan left Wu Clan entirely. They were no longer connected. By now, my life tablet goo and soul lantern goo must have shattered. Wu Yong cannot use this to deal with me anymore. Even though his worries were lifted, Fang Yuan also saw a weakness of self-cleansing. Self-cleansing was extremely unique. It could cleanse all of the Dao marks that were unfavorable to the Goo Immortal, but the choice was not according to Fang Yuan's intentions. For example, Fang Yuan had gotten rid of the alliance agreement with Wu Clan completely, but his alliance agreement Dao marks with other forces like Chu Du, Langyalan Spirit, the variant humans, and Crazed Demon Cave were unaffected. This was because these alliance agreement Dao marks were not harmful to Fang Yuan. Self-cleansing would not get rid of them. However, the moment Fang Yuan betrays them, these alliance agreement Dao marks would activate and punish Fang Yuan. It would be too late for him to use self-cleansing on them. And most important was Fairy Z Wei's investigative killer move. These Dao marks were very detrimental to Fang Yuan. Self-cleansing naturally got rid of them. But the shocking thing was, even though the killer move was effective and removed these Dao marks, they soon started to recover and grow again at this speed. In just 6 hours, the Dao marks of Heavenly Court's investigative killer move would completely be restored. Self-cleansing is the strongest method in this aspect that Purple Mountain True Monarch had. Even though it is effective on me, the enemy this time is too powerful. The investigative killer move on me is likely created by Fairy Z Wei using Star Constellation Chessboard. Even though Fang Yuan was guessing, he was quite sure of it, because he had seen such self-producing Dao marks before. It was his original body, the rank 6 Strength Path 8 armed heavenly immortal zombie body. Currently, in this body, the second aperture had completely broken down, while the first rank 5 aperture still had Spring Autumn Cicada sealed inside. Spring Autumn Cicada could not be used, because Heaven's Will was inside. And in the body, Wu Xie used his soul path method to set a vicious trap. Once Fang Yuan sends souls inside, the trap would activate and kill it, before nourishing itself and producing more soul path Dao marks, becoming even harder to deal with. This was the first time Fang Yuan saw self-regenerating Dao marks. Even though it was Wu Xie's killer move, Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable had something similar. After getting Purple Mountain True Monarch's inheritance, Fang Yuan learned that only rank 9 Venerables could create killer moves with regenerating Dao marks. Thus, Fang Yuan guessed that Fairy Z Wei used Star Constellation Chessboard to activate the investigative killer move, because Star Constellation Chessboard belonged to Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Thanks to Fang Yuan's current identity, he had a deeper understanding of Heavenly Court than before. Fang Yuan recalled, it was true. The other Immortal Venerables or Demon Venerables had such methods. Dao marks replenished themselves without expending immortal essence. For example, Giant Sun Immortal Venerables rank 8 Immortal Goo Fortune rivaling Heaven. After Ma Hongyun used it, the lucky effect had lasted the entire time until he died. The true essence of his luck were luck path Dao marks. Ma Hongyun had luck path Dao marks on his body. He absorbed the luck of those around him, causing his fortune to rise. In the entire process, he did not have to expend any immortal essence or primeval essence. Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable also had such killer moves, Divine Concealment and Ghostly Concealment. These 2 defensive killer moves created a thin cloak of Dao marks on the soul. The former allowed the user to be free from Heaven's will and deductions, while the latter made one unnoticeable to souls. This killer move's effect had always lasted without using any immortal essence. At the same time, if there was any damage, the Dalmark cloak would regenerate itself. It is publicly recognized that every rank 9 Venerable's main path is at Supreme Grandmaster. According to the cultivation experience from Purple Mountain True Monarch, Grandmaster attainment level is imitation of other paths. Great Grandmaster is the use of natural Tao marks, while Supreme Grandmaster is the regeneration of Tao marks and even self-sustenance, breaking free from the restriction of immortal essence. The classification was clear now. Purple Mountain True Monarch's inheritance gave Feng Yuan a clear recognition of all the Gu immortal attainment levels. Now, with his own experiences, Feng Yuan gained a lot of insight. The 8-arm heavenly zombie body soul path trap could be resolved now. But the investigative Tao marks on the sovereign immortal body were hard to deal with. Using self-cleansing, I can get rid of a number of investigative Tao marks, but the more I reduce them, the faster they regenerate. Using self-cleansing killer move once will get rid of 10% of these Tao marks. But in half a day, they will completely grow back. This means that if I want to get rid of the investigative killer move, I will need to sustain self-cleansing all the time, for about half a month without any pauses in the middle. Feng Yuan estimated based on all the information that he had that it was problematic. The investigative killer move was far more troublesome than Feng Yuan had expected. And the most important thing was, this was unrealistic. Self-cleansing was not a sustained killer move. It had to be used each time. Each time he used it, there was a certain duration that it lasted. Even though he had self-love immortal Gu and successfully used self-cleansing, Feng Yuan did not get rid of the harmful Tao marks completely. He met with another problem. What should he do? If you were given enough time to prepare, you might be able to resolve it. But too bad, you have no chance now. In Heavenly Court, Fairy Ziwei smiled. She was very confident in the investigative killer move used on Feng Yuan and the rest, because this was Star Constellation Chessboard's method, and also the killer move created personally by Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, Inextinguishable Star Target. Compared to other investigative killer moves, Inextinguishable Star Target could only locate the position of its target. This effect alone was inferior to the method that Fairy Ziwei used on Feng Jiu. Gu. The latter allowed Star Constellation Chessboard to display the scenes of the target's situation. One could easily understand what was going on. But Inextinguishable Star Target's greatest effect was that it could regenerate endlessly. Normal methods could not get rid of it properly. One could say that as long as this killer move still lasted, Feng Yuan would be a pawn on Fairy Ziwei's board. He could not escape her grasp. To eliminate him was only a matter of time. Against Feng Yuan and the others, Fairy Ziwei had the complete advantage. She was unshakable in this situation as long as Feng Yuan had no time or freedom to develop. As time dragged on, Fairy Ziwei and Heavenly Court's advantage would get bigger and bigger. One could say, Fairy Ziwei was in an invincible position. Chapter 1409, Lu Weiyin. Compared to fate, luck cannot last. Even though there were some mishaps, so what? Fairy Ziwei smiled gracefully and elegantly. The star constellation chessboard in her hands displayed the figures of the 2 Heavenly Court Gu Immortals. The Immortal Gu House was flying. The 2 Heavenly Court Gu Immortals had grim expressions, conversing with each other. The upper extreme Heavenly Eagle used the black-white overturning cloud to escape to Black Heaven. But according to the current time, it is already daytime in the 5 regions. We are in White Heaven now, so Black Heaven is above us. Therefore, we need to fly upwards past the Heavenly Wind Chi Wall to enter Black Heaven. That's right, we have already used investigative methods on the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle. As long as we get into Black Heaven, we will be able to sense it. There is no problem. If we meet the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle again, we cannot repeat the same mistake. We will try hard and prevent it from escaping again. The 2 Heavenly Court Gu Immortals were deeply confident. They had recovered from the setback earlier. Their confidence came from their great strength. With such strength, even if the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle had a few lucky breaks, so what? Could it rely on luck every time? As long as it failed once, Heavenly Court's Gu Immortals would win. The upper extreme Heavenly Eagle would be captured with no way of escaping. Star Constellation Chessboard shook lightly. The scene changed as Feng Jiuge was shown at this moment. Feng Jiuge had already left the River of Time. He was in Western Desert, but this time, because he used a different tributary of the River of Time. Even though he was in Western Desert, he could not return using the same way. Fairy Ziwei gave him advice. Feng Jiugu was currently very far away from Feng Yuan. Feng Jiugu is a Tao guardian. His luck is firm like an unmoving mountain. Only people with such intense luck can counter a person like Feng Yuan. If I send other Heavenly Court Gu immortals over, it would be a mess. Feng Yuan would suppress their luck, and he would benefit from the situation instead. Feng Yuan's upper extreme Heavenly Eagle was a clear example. It could escape from 2 Heavenly Court Gu immortals, not to mention Feng Yuan himself. I will let Feng Jiugu chase after Feng Yuan and force him to find Red Lotus True Inheritance. Even if he cannot find it, he will continue to expose his trump cards. By the time he expends them, I will go after him personally. Thinking of this, killing intent shined in Fairy Ziwei's eyes that it was not that she did not think highly of Feng Yuan. Instead, she placed a lot of emphasis on him to kill this complete otherworldly demon. Fairy Ziwei had to act personally to feel assured, but now was not the time. Firstly, Feng Yuan still had hidden trump cards. He was not in a desperate situation. Secondly, Heavenly Court needed to be defended because Duke Long was deep in Heavenly Court trying to suppress Spectral Soul's main body. Fairy Ziwei needed to oversee the entirety of Central Continent and send out orders to control the situation. Thirdly, the Great Era was coming. Southern border was already having earth vein tremors. Central Continent's location was too disadvantageous. They had to make ample preparations. Even though Feng Yuan obtained self-love immortal Gu, he did not leave Fairy Ziwei's control. Even though the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle escaped, it was still being pursued. It was not out of danger. Fairy Ziwei was more concerned about the Stone Lotus Island in the River of Time rather than these two. Why did Red Lotus True Inheritance suddenly appear and disappear again? Fairy Ziwei frowned. She did not understand. With Star Constellation Chessboard, she was one of the 3 strongest Wisdom Path great experts in the current world, but against the most mysterious Red Lotus demon venerable in human history, Fairy Ziwei could feel her own inability and weakness. Oh, Red Lotus, Fairy Ziwei sighed. She knew that among the demon venerables, this Red Lotus demon venerable had the deepest connection to Heavenly Court that in fact, he was once thought to be the future Red Lotus immortal venerable and to become in charge of Heavenly Court, Black Heaven. The yellow-green grass looked like a giant carpet, growing at a part of Black Heaven. Heaven-attached fungi. This was a rank 6 immortal material that only grew in the immemorial 9 heavens that it grew in very specific locations. They had to grow alone without any other Tao marks around them, other life forms, or even any meteorites. But thankfully, the immemorial 9 heavens was huge, even though there were lots of ancient desolate and immemorial desolate life forms around. There was enough room for the heaven-attached fungi to grow. However, there were 2 people on this heaven-attached fungi now. Chirp chirp, sounds of anxious bird chirping could be heard that a Gu master with the appearance of a young man raised his right hand with difficulty. There was a layer of rainbow aurora light covering his forearm and right hand. This light was very active. It seemed to want to escape from the young man, but it could not. The young man was gritting his teeth, holding on desperately with sweating covering his forehead. Go, Aurora Bird. The young Gu master was at his limit. He knew he had to take a risk. He shouted as he pushed forward with his arm. Chirp, chirp, chirp. At the next moment, the aurora light and chirping became even louder and sharper. Next, the rainbow aurora light jumped out of the young Gu master's arm, jumping into the sky and turning into a bird. The bird wings flapped as the rainbow aurora light shot out at an incredible speed. Boom! With a loud sound, the rainbow aurora bird landed on the heaven-attached fungi nearby and destroyed all of the fungi. After the aurora light faded, there was a tiny pit in the heaven-attached fungi. The young Gu master saw this and was surprised and joyous. He was happy that his hard work after so much training and dangerous situations had paid off. He succeeded in this killer move. He was surprised that this killer move was so powerful, just like what his master said. Master, I succeeded. The young Gu master went to another person and greeted, saying excitedly, not bad. His master commented plainly. The young Gu master saw his master's expression, and the excitement in his heart calmed down. His expression became normal as he paid his respects, saying plainly, "I had lost my composure." "No worries." The young Gu master's master waved as he walked away slowly. A few steps later, he stopped as he looked up at the sky. He wore a gray hemp garment. It was very simple and plain, but his muscular body could not be concealed. He wore a conical hat, one that was large and wide. It covered his face under the shadow, concealing his appearance. Even though he was the young Gu master's master, his appearance had never been seen. The truth was, only now when he looked at the sky, the young Gu master could see his appearance. But he only saw his chin. His chin was wide and thick. It gave people the feeling of steadiness and unwavering determination. "Master, thank you for your guidance. If I cultivated alone, how could I have reached such a level?" The young Gu master said. His master was silent for a while before speaking slowly. "Yi Fan, you are incredibly talented and have great insight. This killer move was created by you using the transformation path and light path understanding that you have. I was only guiding you along. Even though you succeeded in this move, you need to practice it more. Beware of your safety. I cannot stay by you." "Master, we are going to be separated?" The young Gu master asked anxiously and shocked. He was Yi Fan of Southern Border. He admired xianxia, and when she became the clan leader, he stood up and helped her resolve many problems of the mortal Shang clan. But there is always someone better than you. Yi Fan met by Ning Bing and suffered a terrible loss. He even went through an experience of being at the brink of life and death that he survived, but was extremely shocked. This unforgettable experience made him contemplative, pondering about life and about himself. Through an unexpected surprise, he met his current master and became master and disciple. To think that his master was a Gu immortal. To nurture this disciple with great talent. He brought Yi Fan to Black Heaven to train him. Even though they spent a short time together, Yi Fan admired this mysterious master deeply. Affinity was needed between people. Some people could live together for a lifetime and still be strangers. Some people could be together for a short while and easily become soulmates. Even though Yi Fan did not see his master's appearance, he could feel the sincerity and kindness from his master. He had complete confidence in his master. He did not suspect that his master had any ulterior motives. Affinity comes and goes. We do not have much of a connection to begin with. After using it up today, our relationship will end tomorrow. We might as well use it slowly and await the future. Yi Fan, do you know why I brought you here? His master said. Why? Yi Fan blinked. Master, didn't you say that Black Heaven restricts my light path, so that it is safe to cultivate here even though it is hard? This is just one of the reasons. The second reason is that I deduced that you have some karma here. His master said in a low tone. Karma? Yi Fan showed a perplexed gaze. In this world, every cause has an effect, and every effect has a cause. Look, your karma has arrived. Saying this, the mysterious Gu immortal pointed at the sky. Yi Fan looked over and gasped. Over there, an upper extreme heavenly eagle flew towards the heaven-attached fungi here. What a strong divine eagle. Ah, it is injured. It was getting closer as Yi Fan could see upper extreme heavenly eagle's heavy injuries. Even though Yi Fan met with a good teacher, he was still not a Gu immortal himself. The truth was, even ordinary rank 6 Gu immortals would not know about the immemorial desolate beast upper extreme heavenly eagle. The upper extreme heavenly eagle was currently not clear-headed. Its wounds were healing and had not healed. Even though it shook off heavenly court's pursuers, Black Heaven and White Heaven were very dangerous. It was not safe anywhere. When it saw the heaven-attached fungi, it flew over, trying to get precious time to rest. But it did not manage to land on the heaven-attached fungi. It fainted a few thousand steps away. However, Yi Fan's master acted rapidly and grabbed this upper extreme heavenly eagle. His palm was open and using some unknown method. Under Yi Fan's surprised gaze, this upper extreme heavenly eagle became smaller and smaller by some effect, landing in Yi Fan's master's palm like a baby chick. Yi Fan's mysterious master stretched out another hand to caress the upper extreme heavenly eagle. Suddenly, the upper extreme heavenly eagle's injuries vanished. It went into deep sleep in a relaxed state. Yi Fan, you are bound by the karma on you. This upper extreme heavenly eagle might be the key to resolving it in the future for you. Bring it by your side. When it wakes up, it will bring you out of black heaven and back to southern border. Master is leaving now. Saying this, the mysterious Gu immortal in a conical hat and gray clothes flew away towards the sky. Master, stay safe. Yi Fan received the little bird upper extreme heavenly eagle and rapidly chased. He had tears in his eyes. He was quite upset that he chased until he got to the edge of the heaven-attached fungi. Seeing his master's shrinking figure, he shouted, "Master, may I know your name?" "My name is Lu Wei-yin." His master's voice could be heard softly in his ears. "Master." "Lu Wei-yin," Yi Fan muttered in a daze. Chapter 14:10 Formation Path Immortal Gu True Inheritance. Western Desert. Fang Yuan opened his eyes. He saw a jade-green forest. There was a blue lake. It was like a sapphire in a sea of yellow sand. It was extremely beautiful. This was a small oasis. There was a natural spirit spring here. Oases like this were usually the foundation of a mortal clan. If a Gu master stayed here and preserved the spirit spring, if it developed well, it could become a mid-size or even a large-size oasis. Humans chose environments that were suitable for living, and at the same time, they would modify the natural environment to suit their needs. This was the coexistence between people and nature in Western Desert. However, now, this newly formed oasis was going to be destroyed, because Fang Yuan and the rest would destroy all the traces left behind when they left for a new location. Even though they were hit by Heavenly Court's killer move, they had to guard against enemies in Western Desert, especially when Heaven's Will was plotting all the time. This deduction finally has some results. Fang Yuan let out a breath of air, feeling slightly happy. Ever since he saw the power of inextinguishable star target, he started to resolve this problem. Immortal killer move self-cleansing was good. It had to be used time and time again with fixed durations, but Fang Yuan could modify it to be a lasting move. Fang Yuan had the foundation for this, because he was a Wisdom Path Grandmaster, and self-cleansing was a Wisdom Path killer move. He could modify it, and he had a crucial immortal Gu.it was. Because of this immortal Gu that Fang Yuan had great confidence. This immortal Gu was perseverance. Rank 7 perseverance immortal Gu's effect was to supplement other immortal Gu or killer moves in their duration. For example, when Fang Yuan became an ancient sword dragon, his sword-light dragon breath had to be breathed out each time. But if he used perseverance immortal Gu, he could use the sword-light dragon breath continuously until his throat reached its limit. Perseverance immortal Gu was suited for the modification of self-cleansing. Recently, Fang Yuan had been moving around while deducing. He had finally gotten some results now that he succeeded in making immortal Gu perseverance the second core of this self-cleansing killer move. This way, self-cleansing could be used for longer durations. It would get rid of Fang Yuan's unfavorable Dao marks continuously. But this would not be enough to clear all the Dao marks. Fang Yuan had a deep gaze. He did not relax. He knew that another tough problem was coming. Even if self-cleansing could be used continuously, Fang Yuan did not have the time to wait. He was currently being pursued. Even though Heavenly Court's Gu immortals were nowhere to be seen, they might be tailing him already at any time. It was possible for Fang Yuan and the rest to be pursued and sneak attacked. Using self-cleansing, it would take a month at least to get rid of Fang Yuan's inextinguishable star target Dao marks.in this month. He had to use the killer move nonstop. Inextinguishable star target was hard to deal with. The more Dao marks removed, the faster they regenerated. Fang Yuan had done his best to reach this stage. He could not raise self-cleansing's effect anymore. According to the situation, I need to be on the run at all times. It is impossible for me to get a month's time. And even if I have a month, what about the others? They were also hit by inextinguishable star target. There was no chance of doing so. Fang Yuan's biggest worry was that Heavenly Court would come out and ruin everything when he was about to succeed. If that happened, he would have expended a lot of immortal essence without getting rid of inextinguishable star target. Next, if he fought the Heavenly Court Gu immortals or escaped, inextinguishable star target would regenerate, the Dao marks would grow, and Fang Yuan's efforts would be in vain. And self-cleansing is an immortal killer move. Using it would expend not only a lot of immortal essence, but to sustain it, I need to use up a lot of mental energy on it. I have not used this killer move much. I am not proficient with it. Including the times when I will fail, not only will I waste immortal essence and need to heal myself, even without Heavenly Court's interference, I will weaken greatly if this goes on. Escaping to xianxia blessed land is impossible too. Not only I am under Heavenly Court's surveillance and would expose xianxia blessed land's location, the journey is too long. There is too much danger in going there. There is not only Heavenly Court and Heaven's will. Northern Plains even has longevity heaven. Of course, there were difficulties and also solutions. Fang Yuan soon thought of a countermeasure for this. He had enough strength to execute this plan as well. That was to use formation path. He needed to modify the killer move, self-cleansing, into an immortal goo formation. This was not out of this world that I mentioned earlier. Goo formations were in essence killer moves, but they were formation path killer moves that if Fang Yuan had a self-cleansing goo formation, it would be much easier. He would need to expend much less immortal essence and mental energy to sustain the goo formation compared to using killer moves. Furthermore, the killer move self-cleansing was effective on Fang Yuan alone. Other goo immortals needed to learn the move to use it themselves later, but if it was an immortal goo formation, then Shadow Sect's goo immortals could enter the formation and get rid of the inextinguishable star target Dao marks on their bodies. Thus, not only do I need to modify the killer move and turn it into an immortal goo formation, I also need goo worms like formation plate goo, formation flag goo, or formation chart goo, and it would be great if they were immortal goo. Immortal level formation plate goo. xianxia sect had one. This immortal goo's effect was to use all sorts of goo worms to set up a goo formation on its own. The goo immortal only needed to provide immortal essence for it. They did not need any formation path attainment. Formation flag goo was used to manage a goo formation that was already set up. When goo immortals use formation flag goo, they can choose a goo formation and directly keep it inside formation flag goo. Next, within their line of sight, the goo immortal can bring formation flag goo and teleport away. After finding a suitable location, they can activate formation flag goo to set up the goo formation again at a new location. As for formation chart goo, it was a type of consumable goo. Formation chart goo recorded the information of a goo formation. It has a similar effect to formation plate goo, but the chances of error were much smaller compared to formation plate goo. These three goo worms suited Fang Yuan greatly. Tremor Desert. This special desert would have intense tremors from time to time. Deep under Tremor Desert, an immortal goo formation was slowly activated. Hanli walked in with a nervous expression. He encouraged himself. This is the final test of the formation path true inheritance left by Goo Immortal Zhen Yuanzi. Hanli, work hard.